Is it really the same old Jets? Has anything really changed through 3 games in the season? Baseball's coming down to the wire. We got some stuff to talk about tonight, guys. You know what's up. It's Wednesday night. It's 6 p.m. Eastern, and we are live. Well, welcome back, everybody, to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Watts UK99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to join me for our weekly Wednesday Night Live extravaganza, whether you're watching live or on delay. I appreciate you taking some time to check out the channel. So here we go, Wednesday Night Live, and it feels like every game. I feel like with some of these games, I could just play the show from last week and it'd be hard to know the difference. Similar stories, similar frustration, similar everything. So we're going to get into the New York Jets in just a few minutes. We're going to talk a little. It's Wednesday. I'm not here to do full breakdowns of the game that took place on Sunday, but I do want to take you through some of the things that are standing out to me and talk about what are some positives we can really take going forward, and have some things to say about this head coach, because there's a little portion of this Jets fan base, shows you how crazy it is. The firing squad is coming for Aaron Glenn, and I'm going to address that tonight. Also, remember, we're going to do 3 and out in just 1 second. We got Jets trivia later. Give me those 15 likes. We get 15 thumbs ups. We will spin the Jets wheel. I think we got about an hour and a half or so tonight. So let's see how this goes tonight. All right. First of all, before we get into the Jets, let's talk about what else is going on in the world of New York sports. It is the last few days of the regular season in baseball, so congratulations to the New York Yankees. They clinched their playoff spot on Tuesday, and it's not just a wild card necessarily. They are 1 game back in the AL East with 5 games left to go. Now, Toronto does have the tiebreaker, so really the Yankees are 2 out. Now, even if they don't win the division, they're all but certainly the top wild card, where they would host a best-of-3 series, and we have no idea who it's going to be. Boston, Cleveland, Detroit, Houston, outside chance of Seattle. We have no idea how this is going to wind up. But the Yankees continue their 3-game series against the just terrible White Sox tonight at 7, then 3 against the very disappointing Baltimore Orioles to close the season. And as far as the other team that plays baseball in New York City, well, what can I say about them that I haven't already said? I mean, this team, how much Zantac and Malox and Petco do you need to watch those New York Mets? As Bernard Johnson points out here, how about them, that rally last night? A 5-run rally. Now, I had believed all along the Mets were going to make the playoffs until the Washington series, where they dropped 2 out of 3. The way they're getting robbed of home runs, the way they weren't coming through in big spots, the way so many starting pitchers can't get past, I remember at the beginning of the season, I was getting angry at Clay Holmes for not getting past 5 innings. That's like a complete game nowadays. Okay, now the Mets have starting pitchers who can't get out of the 2nd inning. It's driving me crazy. I was so nervous. I couldn't even bear to watch Tuesday. Like, watching these games has become like a death march for me. I'll track them, but to actually watch them, it's just messing with me. But all the credit to Brandon Nimmo for a huge 3-run homer, Francisco Alvarez, who is just one tough son of a you-know-what, to hit that 2-run homer despite playing with 2 broken hands. I mean, if you have to respect Francisco Alvarez, I don't care who you're playing for. And Edwin Diaz, that slider was filthy. Facing 1 through 6 in the Cubs order in the 8th and 9th inning, got all 6 outs and struck out 5 of 6. That was Mariano-esque. That's how good that was. The slider was just, it couldn't have been better. So I'll tell you this, Mets now are in control of their own destiny. If they win their last 5 games, they're in the playoffs. No questions asked. But that season finale on Sunday better not matter, because it's David Peterson's turn in the rotation, and you just cannot pitch David Peterson right now. You can't. Last night, 1 1/3 innings, 5 hits allowed, 2 walks, 1 strikeout, 5 earned runs. His last 7 starts, he's got a 7 ERA. The bottom line, I cannot see him again until at least the NLDS. I think he's pitched 50 more innings this season than he ever has in his career. I just think he's hit the wall. Okay. And remember, he was an all-star this season, David Peterson. At this point, I don't want to see him the rest of the regular season. That 3 games when it's back-to-back-to-back, don't put him on the roster. Give that roster spot to somebody else. And then maybe with some rest, if the Mets do advance, then you can bring him back for the NLDS. I would not do it any sooner. But you know what? The Reds lost. The Diamondbacks really to win against LA. How about LA? Tanner Scott. There are Met fans crying for Tanner Scott to come on board. How's that looking? 10 blown saves. Tanner Scott's just another one of these relievers who had 1 or 2 great years and turned it into a huge contract. He's completely ordinary. But the magic number is 5. Let's see how it goes. Series resumes tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern against the Chicago Cubs. Fly the L. That's right. Fly the L. Let's say hello to the great Harlan Abraham. Yes, it is time for the Wicker Chair. Harlan, your Red Sox, they're going to make the playoffs, but do you think they're going to get that wild card spot in that second spot, play the Yankees? What do you think is going to happen, Harlan? Harlan's a big Red Sox fan. Bernard, I got hours to answer that question. That would take a while. The problem is they're the Jets, it feels like. Yeah, I think David Peterson just has a dead arm at this point. He doesn't have a lot of power. He's not locating it well. And against righties, it's a nightmare. It's a situation, maybe you bring him in for an inning against a left-handed dominant lineup. But seriously, I think he needs like 2 weeks to do nothing. And then maybe at that point, maybe he's a usable pitcher. I don't know. The great Hank G is here. How you doing, Hank? I see we got a few other folks hanging out in the chat. If you feel so inclined, feel free to leave a comment. If you have any questions, any thoughts, this is a safe space until we start getting ridiculous. But no, it's almost always good. Everyone's welcome here. Anyway, all right. So then after, aside from baseball, I will spend just a minute here on the New York Football Giants because how bad is the state of football in Jet Life Stadium or Jet Death Stadium is what it really is. Oh, there we go. There's MetLife Stadium. You know, the Giants have had 12 straight home openers where they've scored 20 points or fewer. And that game against Kansas City, even though the deficit wasn't that large until later, they were never really in that game. They couldn't get the ball to their wide receivers all night. Malik Neighbors, who so many people want to basically talk like he's, the second coming of Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. Come on. He had no catches through 3 quarters, finished with 2 catches for 13 yards on 7 targets. Come on. He's a very talented player. He's not consistent enough right now. Okay. He's just not. This is one of the things that worried me about him coming out of college and why I liked Roman Dunze over him. Not saying I was right about that, but I am saying I wasn't as big a Neighbors guy as some others were. And the vaunted Giants pass rush, they couldn't touch Patrick Mahomes in the second half. No sacks, maybe 1 pressure. But you got to say this about the Giants. That Cam Scatteraboo, that guy's a wrecking ball. He's tough. He's relentless. I'm sure they got to feel good about that. Andrew Thomas came back to play left tackle. But what else is there to be positive about with the Giants? And now they got the undefeated Chargers coming to MetLife Stadium. Think they're going to win that game? Jackson Dart, they're going to put him in there against one of the best defenses in the NFL. Definitely a top 5 defense right now. Okay, I was thinking Jackson Dart would make sense for the New Orleans game. On the road, bad team, that would make sense. But they're going to put him in again with that home crowd against a very good team. And then after New Orleans, guess who you see? The Eagles, the Niners, the Broncos, the Packers, the Lions, the Bears. The gauntlet is coming for the Giants. But remember, even if they have a worse record than the Jets, you can be pretty sure they're not going quarterback. And that is a good sign. Okay, guys, I know this isn't going to be easy. Let's get out of the. We're going to go ahead and get out of the 3 and out right now. So let's get rid of that. And as tough as this is, guys, we're going to talk for a few minutes about what's going on with the New York Jets right now. Transition basically from last Sunday into next Monday. So everybody, I don't know if you got the chant in you, but it's only 3 games in. There's still a long way to go. I got one in me. I think you've got one in you too. So let's do it. Jets, Jets. All right. So obviously It was a very, very frustrating loss, dropping that game in Tampa Bay. It wasn't a game I expected the Jets to win. Let's get right into the snap counts right now. And of course, as always, we compare this to what it looked like compared to last week, so we can see who's getting more snaps, who's getting less snaps. So the Jets had 69 snaps on offense. That was up from 47 last week. They had 22 more snaps than they did the previous game. Tyrod Taylor played the whole game, all 69 snaps. Running back, Breece Hall got 38, up 8 from last week. Isaiah Davis had 9. Braylon Allen, 23. I kept him there because, remember, last week, Isaiah Davis had more snaps than Braylon Allen, which drove me nuts. Andrew Beck did not get onto the field. And if this team wants to run the ball, now I know they were down, so they felt they had to throw the ball a little bit more, but Andrew Beck looked pretty dang good in the preseason. And right now, the way it's looking, it's like, okay, that was a good idea in the preseason, but in the regular season, we're not really going to go there. Okay, but I am glad that Braylon got more playing time, so I am very encouraged by that. I hope that number continues to rise for him. But that's one thing I want to see against Miami, against a team that is very, very bad at stopping the run. Will the Jets put Andrew Beck on the field a little bit more to help open up that running attack? Wide receiver, Garrett Wilson played the whole game, all 69 snaps. Tyler Johnson got 48 snaps. Arian Smith, 54, up 32 snaps. So in 3 weeks, Arian Smith's snap count went from 6 to 22 to 54. So it is growing exponentially right now. Now, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Josh Reynolds has missed 2 straight games. If Reynolds was healthy, I think there's a good chance Smith would not be getting all this playing time. And what did Smith do with it? 2 catches on 2 yards. Very exciting. Allen Lazard, he had his 17 snaps to absolutely no Jets fans' delight. Tight end Mason Taylor, 51 snaps. So he is jumping well ahead of Jeremy Ruckert as the number 1 tight end on this team. Ruckert did have 28 snaps, up 11 from last week. And then with the offensive line, nothing really to talk about there. Olu, Simpson, Josh Myers, Joe Timmon, and Armand Membu played all 69 snaps, so no drama there. Yeah, so Max Mitchell played 1 snap the previous week against Buffalo. This week he did not see the field, so that's what we're looking at there. So the Jets are sticking with 2 tight ends. It really seems. Stone Smart has not sniffed the field yet this year. Let's see if and when he does. But with the way the passing attack is struggling, would it be the worst idea in the world to try Stone Smart out wide once in a while, to use Breece Hall as a wide receiver now and then? There's a lot of things that they could try. I'm not saying any of them are surefire successes, but I know that what they have been trying has not been working, especially from in the passing game. And on defense, well, 72 snaps. So that was down just 3 from last week when they had 75 snaps. So this defense is spending way, way, way too much time on the field. Will McDonald, 47, 7 more than last week. So he had more snaps than Michael Clemens. So praise the Lord for that. Our old buddy Michael Clemens. And by the way, if you did happen to see the video I dropped on Monday, I went off on Michael Clemens. I went all out yelling. Don't really want to have to do that again. That was one rant. That was like my 24 hours later rant is what I gave on Michael Clemens. Bray McGregor played 34 snaps, down 3. Tyler Barron got back into the lineup, played 25 snaps. Did anybody notice? Jermaine Johnson still not playing. Hopefully he will be back soon. We should get our first injury report of the week on Thursday. Defensive tackle, Quinn Williams played 2/3 of the snaps, played 48. Harrison Phillips right behind him at 45. They're a good 1-2 punch at defensive tackle. I think they are good at containing the opposing team's inside run game. Juwan Briggs is there as well. Didn't get as much time in this particular game. Leonard Taylor even had a decent run stop from what I could see. So he got 22 snaps. Jay Tufele did not play in this game. And I would just keep rolling with the 4. Quinnen, Harrison Phillips, Juwan Briggs, and Leonard Taylor. I think it's reasonably good. I don't see what Jay Tufele offers that Leonard Taylor doesn't. Linebacker. Jamian Sherwood played the whole game, all 72 snaps. Marcelino McCurry Ball had to step into the game after Quincy Williams went down. Yeah, and now we know Quincy's on IR, and Kiko Mauagoa had 14 snaps, up 8 from last week, and I think we could count on that number rising over the next month. Harlan, here's the thing with Juwan Briggs. He's very good at what he does, but I think Phillips and Taylor are just a little bit more versatile. I think in a third and short situation, that's where you plug Briggs in, but he's certainly not an every down defensive lineman like Quinnen Williams could be. I think it's kind of working pretty well the way it is, all things considered. I mean, we do have to keep this in mind. And, the Jets only gave up one offensive touchdown in that game against Tampa Bay. They held them to a lot. It was a lot of field goal attempts. Bucs had the one touchdown, and the other touchdown was the pick six. So I don't know how much better that makes us feel, but they did only allow one touchdown to Baker Mayfield. So I don't know. On defense in the corner, in the secondary, Brandon Stevens, 72 snaps. I'll give everybody a moment so they can go vomit. Sauce Gardner, 62 snaps. Went out of the game for a few minutes was being checked for a concussion, but he is good. Michael Carter, oh boy, Michael Carter. Ever since he signed the contract, he's been a walking injury. We've seen how good he can be. There's no way that he is playing at 100%. I can't imagine that his game has fallen off this much unless it's just a totally new defense and he's not playing the style of defense that he wants. I don't know what it is with him, but the fact that he's struggling as much is really, really hurting the overall defense. A.Z. Thomas got in the game for 10 snaps, up 5 from last week. Again, no Quantez Stiggers playing defense, just special teams. And as far as safeties go, Andre Sisco and Malachi Moore both played the entire game. Isaiah Oliver came in for 5 snaps. I'll tell you this, Isaiah Oliver can do a little bit of everything. If Carter continues to struggle, I would actually consider trying Isaiah Oliver in the slot corner role and see if that works. Why not at this point? And Tony Adams, of course, missed the game. So we'll see when he does wind up coming back. All right, so here's what I want to say. I want to say a couple of things about this game. Let's minimize. Let's shrink that down a little bit. We know the Jets are 0-3. Since 2000, there have been 117 teams that started 0-3. Only one came back to make the playoffs, and that was the 2018 Houston Texans. They started 0-3, came back to make the playoffs.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Every week I have to play that now. Every single week. It feels like I may as well play it. And what Aaron Glenn said after the game, and I try not to take too much from post-game press conferences because I don't really feel like you get the real person in most press conferences, okay? They have to tweak their personality. They have to watch their words. These coaches cannot say what they want to say. These players can't say what they really want to say. They said, we're not the same. This is the quote. We're not the same team, same old Jets like everyone says. These guys are going to fight no matter what the situation is. There's no give up to them. This doesn't make me feel better. It doesn't. Okay. Am I supposed to be proud of my team that they didn't quit? That they came back after Tampa Bay decided not to blitz anymore? That they took their foot off the gas and they gave Tyrod Taylor time to throw the ball? And that's when things started to work? The minimum expectation is that you play hard for 60 minutes. That is the bare minimum. If you're a less talented team and you lose, you know what? That's one thing. I can live with that. But when you don't live up to the capability you have, that's what's infuriating. Right now, where this team is, I wonder how much better they can be at certain positions. But they better not be quitting. Otherwise, their ass needs to be glued to the bench. Or they shouldn't even be active on Sunday. The bottom line is this. If you don't win, you lose. We can talk about effort all we want. There are no style points here. None. At the end of the day, when the season is over, we will look at a record. That is all we will remember. How many we won, how many we lost. Maybe a few moments here and there. But it comes down to, did you win? Did you lose? And the Jets haven't even won 8 games in a season since 2015. Forget being over 500. 8 wins. That's it. We can't even get there. And Tampa Bay tried to give this game away. Mike Evans dropping multiple passes before he goes down with an injury that's going to sideline him for a couple of weeks. Tampa Bay as a team took 14 penalties. But Tampa Bay, they let down with big leads. They backed off the blitz. The Jets went to work. But once Tampa Bay had to drive the field to win the game, you knew that they were capable of doing it. And they did against the defense that has proved for years to be unclutch, untimely, and unable to make impact plays. It was the Jets' 5th loss since the start of last season when leading in the final 2 minutes of the 4th quarter. That's the most in the NFL and 3 more than any other team has. No other team has more than 2. The Jets have 5 losses when leading in the final 2 minutes of the game. It gets to the point, guys, when the Jets make a critical mistake, a big penalty, a big drop pass, anything like that, a turnover, it almost feels like the game's over. It almost feels like it's over right there, because right now it feels like this team has to play perfect to beat a good team. And that's just not something that they're able to do. The defense, I don't know what the deal is with this defense. They can't get a big stop. 19 missed tackles in this game. 39 missed tackles in 3 games. Those live tackling drills that happened during training camp, how well are they working out? What difference have they made? If we hadn't done the live tackling drill, what would it be? 49 missed tackles? 1 sack against an offensive line that was missing 3 starters. Now, they got 18 pressures on Baker Mayfield. 4 from Quinnen, 3 from Will. And again, all the credit in the world to Will McDonald for that blocked field goal. Great play. Great play. All that's going to be, it's, to use a baseball analogy, I know that this is a playoff analogy, it's the Andy Chavez catch. Great play. They still lost the damn game. And Harlan's exactly right. The Jets need to get turnovers. They never turn the other team over. 0 in 3 games. The only other 2 teams to not force a turnover yet are Miami and Washington. Now, is this players? Because there were the same issues under Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich. They didn't force turnovers then either. They forced 17 turnovers last year. That was 1 per game. And when you have 0 through 3 games, you can see what kind of pace it's on. Not that that's going to happen, but still. But is it players? Is it scheme? Is it both? Probably it's a little bit of both. But I've said it again. I'm going to keep saying it until we see differently. To be an impact defense now in the NFL, you have to make big plays. You can't just hold the teams down, because when you have shorter fields to work with, when you have these big kickers, when you have rules that favor offensive football, the best way you can counter that as a defense is to take the football away. And this team never, ever, ever does it. Coco goes, hey, Sharon, I remember way too much. I've had to go to therapy to forget some of it. Indy Jets, hey there, Whites UK. How you doing, buddy? Yeah. Hope the fine state of Indiana is treating you good. Hope you're treating it good, too. Yeah. Did you go to WrestlePalooza? Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. And as far as the offense goes, man, we had 1 great week of running, and a lot of people were excited. Oh, my God, we're going to run for 150 yards every game. Well, that's kind of fallen off the last 2 weeks, hasn't it now? Breece Hall averaged 2.3 yards per carry against Tampa Bay. 2.3 yards. I could fall forward and get 2.3 yards. The offensive line couldn't protect Tyrod Taylor. He was sacked 4 times. He was hit 8 times. He was pressured on 44% of his dropbacks. 44% of them. 19 total pressures allowed. 19 pressures. They couldn't handle the Todd Bowles blitz, even though all Todd Bowles ever does is blitz. That's all he does. And they weren't able to handle it. And I don't want to go here, guys. I don't want to say this, but I got to say it. I'm worried about Olu Fashanu right now. He allowed, I think several plays I saw 7 pressures, 9 of the pressures he gave up. That's concerning, because last year he looked like a rock solid pass blocking left tackle. That's not what we've seen so far. And against the Miami team with the likes of Chop Robinson and Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, he better be ready, because we need better from Olu Fashanu. I know he hasn't played a full season yet at left tackle, but he came in playing 4 years of left tackle at Penn State. He should be able to pass block better than he has so far. For years, people talk about Aaron Glenn and his demeanor. For years, the Jets were a quiet, undisciplined, poor fundamental team. Now, what are they? They're an energetic, undisciplined, poor fundamental team. It's just the new version of same old Jets. That's what we have seen so far. And what does it take to change it? Why will it change? How will it change? Can it change? Because when I hear people calling in a radio station saying, I've been a Jet fan all my life for 20 years, for 30 years. I can't do this anymore. I'm switching. I'm becoming a Bills fan. I'm joining the Bills Mafia. F you. F you. For switching or quitting? You know, that one guy who I heard called WFAN. Yeah, I was listening to WFAN, okay? Whatever. He called saying to be a Bills fan. Let's say the Bills win the Super Bowl. How excited can he get if the Bills actually go all the way this year? But this is just what pisses me off, is that it's a fan base that right now is completely angry and is going to become apathetic quick, very, very soon. It's like you try to turn your emotions off if you can, just to block out the pain. Because every year, at some point, I transition from being angry to being just content in my heartache. And it feels like every year it happens just a little bit sooner, a little bit sooner, and a little bit sooner. Always hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. Hey, Mo Dean, WickerMedia finally back on the air. Mo, I'm here every Wednesday night, buddy. I'm always here. Hey, rain or shine. Wednesday night, 6 p.m., I'm here. Yeah, there will be one date in November when I'm going to have to change the time for one show, but we'll get into that in the coming weeks. But yeah, I'm here. I've always been here. Yeah, I didn't leave. I didn't go anywhere. It's just, you know. But yeah, I appreciate you stopping by, man. I've been a Pats fan since I can remember, and a little bit of Bills fan. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Of course, a little bit of maybe a London Monarchs fan and all that good stuff. So, boy, I'm tempted to just go off again on Michael Clemens. I'm so ready to go off on him again, just with the way that he went. You know, watching the way that he cannot defend. You know, I'm just going to talk about him anyway. To hell with it. The way he goes inside when he should go outside, blocking a run when trying to defend a run on the Baker Mayfield run in the fourth quarter. Cade Otton, who nobody is going to mistake for Walter Jones or Tony Baselli or anybody like that. Cade Otton blocked him like he was a 4-year-old. I'm going to give you the number, the same numbers I gave you on the Monday night recording that I did. Michael Clemens has played 110 snaps this season. That's about 109 more than he should have. He has 2 penalties, 1 quarterback pressure. He has 2 missed tackles, 1 solo tackle. No sacks, no quarterback hits. And just think about the Jets running game when he's on the field. When he's on the field, the Jets allow 5.5 yards per carry. When he's on the sidelines, the Jets allow 2.7 yards per carry. That's 50% yards less with Clemens off the field. What the heck does he do well? What does he do well? Can you believe Michael Clemens is 28 years old? You know, even though he's on his rookie contract, he's already 28. He's not a young man anymore. This is who he is. He looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. So, like I said on Monday, you cut him, you save $3.4 million. So Darren Muji, Aaron Glenn, Woody Johnson, give it up. Pay the $191,024. That's the cap hit. $191K. Suck it up. Get rid of him. There is not a single Jets fan on earth who wants to see Michael Clemens play for this team ever again. Ever. And what do they do to replace it? You know what? Bring Eric Watts up from the practice squad. I know this. I know he can set the edge. I know he's good on special teams. I know he can defend the run. I know that. At this point, I'd even bring up Peyton Page. I know he plays defensive tackle. I'd even try that. Maybe now and then you move Quinnen or Leonard Taylor outside. See if that makes a difference. I would try something. But every time Michael Clemens is on the field, it turns out crappy. You guys like a lot of teams I can't stand. Cubs, Pacers, and the Cubs and Pacers. 3-time loser. Hey, you got to an NBA Finals. You got to an NBA Finals, even though that game 1 was a complete fluke. We know, Indy. And by the way, can your Cubs just continue to please bend over the way they did against the Reds when they basically took it up the you-know-what for 3 games against Cincinnati? Please, can you just do that 2 more nights? Just 2 more nights, Indy. Just tell your boys to please do that. And by the way, this Mets series, 3 games in Chicago, and I have been to about 24 games at Wrigley Field in my time. The fact that all 3 games are at night That is just wrong. There has to be at least 1 day game. Come on. 1 day game. Yeah, Harlan, I don't have an issue with the Red Sox. Can't tell you the same about the Celtics. Oh, boy. Indy has the large variance in teams. Yeah, it's true because you have North Indiana, which is Chicago. You have Central Indiana, which is Indianapolis. And you have South Indiana, which is basically, it's Cincinnati is what it really is. That's essentially the deal when it comes to the state of Indiana. But, yeah, what's it known for? Wind farms, basketball, and choking. Like Edge and Christian said many years ago on WWE TV, whether it's Bob Knight choking his players or the Pacers choking in the playoffs. It still makes me laugh. It still makes me laugh. Right, Hank, and hello to you, the greatest man in Canada, nearly at the height of Wayne Gretzky. You know, I think, doesn't the G stand for Gretzky? Hank G? I think it does stand for Gretzky, right? Okay, guys. So here's the deal. Let's go for it. Let's pull up some stuff here. You want some positives? I'm going to give you a few positives right now. And number one is Austin McNamara. That's right. I'm going with the punter, damn it. PFF's number one punter. He is 5th in net average. He's 4th in hang time. He is the only punter in the NFL who's top 5 in both categories, both net average and hang time. He has only 1 touchback this year, and his return punts are averaging 3.5 yards. So, hey, you don't have to be a Darren Muji fan, but you got to give him credit. He got the punter right. So, hey, Jet fans, if we can't be excited about that, then you know what can we ever be excited about? You know, you can't have a great team without an elite punter, right? I'm sure the numbers prove that. Man, oh man. I thought the positive in this picture was how great the football looks, Mo says. And yeah, it looks so. There aren't too many Austin McNamara photos out there, but not a ton of them. That's about as good. It almost looks like he's doing the baby shark here, you know? There you go. The gator thing. That seems to be what's going on. So, but yeah, McNamara has been fantastic. So onward and upward with him. Armand Membu. Hey, he's been excellent in his first 3 starts. And considering the opponents he's gone against, Pittsburgh with TJ Watt, Buffalo with Greg Rousseau and the like, Tampa Bay, with Hassan Reddick, guys like that. Armand Membu to this point, he has been on the field for 108 pass protection snaps. In that time, he's given up just 3 pressures, a 3.7% pressure rate, and only 1 sack. So Armand Membu, I know a lot of people could say, man, we should have taken a quarterback, this and that. Some people wanted Tyler Warren, which I would have been more than fine with. But I do believe in building through the lines, quarterback and the 2 lines. And it looks like the Jets might indeed have a cornerstone at right tackle going forward. And that's something to be very, very encouraged about. And then 2 other players I want to mention. I want to give a shout out to rookies A.Z. Thomas and Malachi Moore. Hank G wants to know if we can trade McNamara for a 1st and 3rd rounder. Joe Douglas would have been able to do that because he hoodwinked a few teams on some trades. You know what? I'll take a 1st and a conditional 3rd. How about that? Yeah, just a conditional 3rd. Give me the 1st, and I think we can talk. But A.Z. Thomas, he had a 76.0 PFF grade on Sunday, the highest ranking Jet of anybody. That's pretty good. Now, he only played 10 snaps, but he looked far more competent and far more experienced than Brandon Stevens has. Thomas graded very, very well in coverage. And let's give some love to Malachi Moore. And I don't think he should ever come off the field again. This is a situation to me. You let him play. You let him learn. If he makes a mistake once in a while, let him keep going because I never need to see Tony Adams again, as long as it's a 2 safety package. But here's a play that's also going to go kind of unnoticed. So the Bucs, this is in the 4th quarter, 2:28 to go. Bucs have the ball. They're facing 3rd and 5. And they give the ball to Bucky Irving for a run. And Malachi Moore hustles all the way across the line and makes the tackle right before Irving can reach out the football to try to lunge for that 1st down. And the next play, shortly after that, was the blocked field goal and return touchdown by Will McDonald. Never would have happened if Malachi Moore didn't read the play and execute the play. That's got me feeling pretty good about Malachi Moore going forward. We knew he came here from Alabama, experienced, had a high floor. I think we're already seeing the floor. A couple other players who did play well. I mentioned Thomas had a 76.0 grade. The top 5 Jets with PFF grade, I'm just going to mention it real quick. Marcelino McCrary Ball, because of course he was. Joe Tippmann, Jamian Sherwood, and John Simpson. So there you go. All right. Now I want to go back for a minute to I'm going to get this slide off. I just want to talk to you guys for just a moment here. Yeah, let's just chat together. Watts UK99 and Wicker Pickers. So I'm seeing a lot of people talk about the head coach. I have actually seen people this week, even on, I was checking out Matt O'Leary's show. He had Jets Chaos on, and I was hanging out in the chat for a little while. It was kind of a slow day of work, so I had some time to chat. And there were a couple of Jet fans who are already calling this head coach garbage, that already want him fired. I even saw one guy who said this: as soon as we cut Xavier Gibson, I knew he wasn't the right coach because he's not willing to coach players. I know there are idiots in every group you can think of in America, but this is a very special level of idiocy. These are the same kind of people who probably would have given up on Bill Parcells going 3-12-1 his first year. Belichick had 3 straight losing seasons in Cleveland when he started before they made the playoffs. I go on. Tom Landry didn't exactly get off to a great start in Dallas. Most of the best coaches, they had to struggle when they started out in many cases. Vince Lombardi had, I think, a 5-game losing streak his first season in Green Bay. And a lot of players on that team, by the way, were going to be Hall of Famers. They just didn't know it at the time. Dan Campbell, it took a year and a half for that team to start turning around. And you had a lot of similarities. You had some elite talent, but you needed a lot of depth. You took a chance on a rejected quarterback, and it's paid off. Year and a half after that, they're in the NFC Championship game. Next year, they have a bye. They're hosting a divisional round game, even though they did lose it to Washington. So 3 games in, no. The quickest I ever gave up on a coach, well, Adam Gase, but I never even gave him a chance because every Jet fan knew Adam Gase would be a failure because we knew what Adam Gase was. We saw him in our division. He came over without any time off. He just took the job immediately, and we knew right away he would fail. We knew that. But for people to get upset about Aaron Glenn celebrating in the moment, I mean, come on. We saw Robert Saleh act like a statue. Now, Saleh would get excited for a touchdown. He would do that. But if that wasn't going on, he was basically a statue. Okay? People talk about there are no statues outside MetLife Stadium. Well, the Jets had a statue inside MetLife Stadium. It was called the Bowl Chrome Dome of Robert Saleh. The bottom line is this, and I said this in the chat earlier today. When you're losing and things go bad, things get accentuated. When you're winning and things go bad, those things get overlooked. Winning cures everything. Everything. I guess that fool didn't see AG coach on the sideline. Saleh never did that. You're exactly right. Exactly right. Good point, Harlan. Swig of water for the working man and woman. Okay. All right. So I just want to say that I am still firmly in the corner of Aaron Glenn. I think he has a long way to go. He is going to keep learning as he goes on, as is the 3rd youngest roster in the NFL. And let's look at it this way too. If the Jets have a feeling that something isn't working, they are not afraid to make a move to rectify it. The trades they made the week right before the season to get Harrison Phillips and Juwan Briggs in there. Think about those moves. The Jets defense, as bad as the defense is, it'd be even worse without the 2 of them. And then we see the different moves that have been getting made. So we talk about, let's get into the injuries a little bit. Now, we don't have any real injury updates as of now. Those are not going to come out till Thursday. Since the Jets play on Monday, everything is pushed back a day. Now, Rich Cimini has said he will be shocked. Quote, he said shocked if Justin Fields isn't playing Monday night. We'll see. I hope Fields plays because I know what Tyrod Taylor is. And even though Fields can be incredibly frustrating, we do know he has great athletic ability. And you never know which Justin Fields you're going to get on a given day. And that can lead you to victory. You never know. And even if Tyrod Taylor were to keep playing, it's going to be just a matter of weeks until he's out injured again. Losing Quincy Williams is definitely a blow. He's on IR, suffered a shoulder injury, so he's out at least 4 games. And I didn't think he'd been all that good in this defense anyway. Just my opinion. I think he'd been over pursuing at times. I think he's still getting used to this defense. And one of the things with this Jets defense is the linebackers are on the lighter side. Now that you're plugging in like a Kiko Mauagoa, who's a little bit heavier, maybe that helps shore up the run defense a little bit. I don't know. But it's going to be an interesting challenge for Jameon Sherwood because the Jets have lost multiple linebackers. They lost Quincy. They lost MMB, who's also their special teams captain, going on IR with a hamstring injury. Now, he did finish the game, which I found a little bit surprising. So he's out for 4 games now as well. And when the Jets announced the signing of Mark Robinson, I didn't think it was to replace Quincy. I realized it was to really replace Marcelino McCrary-Ball. So let's get into Robinson for a moment. And then we'll talk about the other trade. Then we'll get into the Dolphins a little bit. So Mark Robinson, 5'11", 235, 4th year from Mississippi, was on the Patriots practice squad, had been elevated for all 3 games this season, recorded 3 tackles on special teams. 7th-round pick of Pittsburgh in 2022. He has appeared in 41 games, started 4 games, recorded 48 tackles. In 23-24, played 2/3 of Pittsburgh's special team snaps. This year, he played 50% of New England's special teams snaps. The big thing with Robinson is you do not want him playing in coverage on defense. So what I'm seeing right now with the linebacking unit is you have some special teams only guys. The Cam Jones, the guy they brought in from Kansas City. Now this guy, Mark Robinson, you want them playing special teams, but if they're out there playing in the field, you got to be a little bit worried about it. We have to think about that. And so then the Jets also trade a six-round pick in 2026 for a 7th-round pick and Jarvis Brownlee. So that trade was made with Tennessee. Now, Harlan pointing out the roster may get younger next season. I think so, especially with the elevating cap hit that Aaron Rodgers is going to have. Remember, that cap hit goes up next year from this year. So I think it's going to be another year where you're not going to see a whole lot of free agency spending, and that's why it's so important to draft well now, why it's important to develop talent now. Because if you don't have a lot of money to spend with, you better be able to grow your own talent. And it's just not going to be the year for the Jets to be spending a whole lot of money. But Jarvis Brownlee, speaking of young talent, see, this is what the Jets are doing. They're bringing in young talent with an upside that other teams, maybe there's a falling out of some kind, but we saw that with Briggs. We're seeing it now with Brownlee. Phillips is a little bit older, but Brownlee, 5th-round pick of the Titans in 2024. He has 1 career interception, 10 pass breakups. Now, this year, his pass coverage has not been great. He's allowed 8 catches on 10 targets for 59 yards and a touchdown. Not so good. In 2024, allowed 55 catches on 81 targets. That's 68% of his targets became catches. You want that a good deal lower. And he also allowed 4 touchdowns. So this is not the second coming of Darrelle Revis or even Antonio Cromartie. And the other thing with him, penalties are an issue. That's been getting a lot of attention. He was called for 9 last year, and he's already been called for 3 this year. And I think that was one of the biggest issues that the coaches had with him in Tennessee is they couldn't get him to play a more disciplined style of football. Also, I think he had a boot on his ankle, even though he did play. He has played all 3 games this year. So we have to see where his health is. But what he's really good at is defending the run. He's got a 77.7 run defense grade in 2024. This year, even better, 83.5, which is really good. My thing with that, though, is when you bring in a cornerback and his best trait is his run defense, what are we talking about? Isn't that like you bring in a defensive imagine if the Jets had brought in Harrison Phillips at defensive tackle and they said, well, his best ability, it's not really run blocking or rushing the quarterback. It's really pass coverage. That makes absolutely as much sense to me, okay? So we're bringing in a cornerback, and the best thing he does is stop the run. I know that's important, but isn't that but maybe when the linebackers out, they're going to plan on using him maybe more towards the box a little bit more? I don't know what Steve Wilkes and Aaron Glenn have in mind here. I really don't. But I will say this. Chris Harris knows him. He coached him in Tennessee. So maybe Chris Harris went to bat for Jarvis Brownlee. And it's still, I still wish that the Jets would just give Quantez Stiggers a chance to play some defense a little bit more, but they don't seem to be comfortable doing that. They're using Stiggers exclusively on special teams. I'll tell you the other thing. This better not push AZ Thomas down the depth chart. Okay, if Brownlee's coming in and he's immediately taking snaps away from Thomas, I'm going to have a problem with that. If coach thinks that they need to compete for a job, see who earns more playing time, then that's fine. But I like what I'm seeing from Thomas already. And Jarvis Brownlee, with these coverage numbers I'm looking at, I'm not exactly inspired. I'm not convinced either that he's a better cover corner than Azareye'h Thomas is. And Brownlee, he's not going to be playing the slot either. He plays outside. Now, Titans fans, in all fairness, a lot of the posts I've seen on social media from Titans fans, they are very up in arms about this trade. They're upset about it. They called him one of the team's few assets. Now, I think we need to keep in mind, this is the Tennessee Titans. This is not the Baltimore Ravens. Titans fans are not exactly used to watching elite top-level players over the last few years. So how high is that bar really? So their opinion of him, is that rational? Is that fair? Is that objective? Is that like something we would do where we might overestimate one of our players because we want to convince ourselves that we have a better team than we actually do? But let's give him a chance. Let's see what he could do. I just hope AZ Thomas gets the bulk of the playing time in the very, very near future. I know you don't want to push the rookies too hard. I understand that. But Brownlee, this is only his second year. Jets have him under contract for another 2 years. So, you can't – I think it's another 2 years. So you can't be too upset about that. But do we really need to see any more Brandon Stevens? I know he's going to be here for 2 years. I get it. But, oh, my gosh. As far as this being a starter goes, it's just painful to watch. It's painful to even think about. All right, let's turn the page, guys. Time to go forward. Let's talk about the Week 4. Let's do the Week 4 preview, Jets versus Dolphins. Of course, in the next couple of days, I'll be releasing my confidence picks. Look for those either very late Thursday or a very early Friday morning. Then I'll be releasing the Jets preview videos. I'll probably be doing that. I'll make sure I have them out by Saturday afternoon or so. That's pretty much the idea. Since the game doesn't start till Monday, those videos might drop just a little bit later than when they normally would. Yeah, I had to do a flashback to better times. There's Jumbo Elliott making the catch. I was up in college, up in Boston at the time, and I'm pretty sure I'd fallen asleep by this point. All right, so let's run through 5 things to know about the Miami Dolphins, and I think after that we will do the trivia. Let's see. How are we doing on? I'm going to do a quick like counter. How are we doing right now? Remember, 15 likes, we will spin the wheel. So a couple of things with Miami. They have allowed 150 or more rushing yards in 2 of their 3 games this season. This is a team you can run on. All right. I know that their front 7 has a lot of names, a lot of big names, but they have shown no ability to stop the running game. And one of the big reasons, this is number 2, Kenneth Grant, their first-round pick out of Michigan. He was Miami's lowest graded defensive player against the Bills. That's according to PFF. His overall grade was 32.7. That's anemic. He had 1 solo tackle, didn't record a sack, forced a fumble recovery, nothing. No pressures, no quarterback hits. In fact, through 3 games with Miami, Grant has 3 solo tackles and has no other meaningful plays. No sacks, no quarterback hits, no run stops. So this first-round draft pick for Miami is looking very, very dubious already. Number 3, Devon Achane. He has the most receptions of any Dolphin with 18. That's right. He's got more catches than Tyreek Hill. He's got more than Jalen Waddle. We always think Hill and Waddle, Waddle and Hill. Well, you got to watch out for Devon Achane in that passing game. And especially the Jets being in a situation where they have a distinct lack of speed on defense, especially with the linebacking unit with Quincy Williams out. I'm pretty sure they're going to be looking to get the ball to Achane in space any way that they can. Number 4, let's talk about Tua for a moment. So when Tua Tagovailoa, it's all about here. I'm going to give you an important number, 2.7. Here's what 2.7 is. How fast is he releasing the ball? We know Tua has a very quick windup and release of the football. When he releases the ball in 2.7 seconds or under, he completes 75% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. But if you can take his first read away and you can make him think, you compromise him. When he releases the ball after 2.7 seconds after the snap, he's completing 56% of his passes, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So it's up to Sauce and whoever's playing the other side to do a good job to really take away that first read. Because the more you get to it thinking, the more mistakes he is prone to making. And number 5, let's talk about third downs. Well, the Dolphins have a pretty good third down offense. They converted 8 of their first 10 third downs against Buffalo. They finished 10 for 15 against the Buffalo defense that entered the game with the best third down defense in the NFL. So getting off the field on third down, that's been a problem for the Jets. It's one reason why their drives have been so long this year, why they spend so much time on the field, and why they tend to wear down at the end of games. So get off the field on third down. Get Miami in third and long. Force them to throw the ball down the field and take your chances. All right. All right, guys. Well, I'll tell you what. I think it's about that time of the week. I think it's about time to do this. I think it's time for a tradition. So every single week, you know what happens. I head down into the labyrinth of Jets knowledge. I bust open the books. I dust off the Encyclopedia Britannica. I go to the Jets dark web. And I, Watsu-K99, challenge you, the most loyal fans of the most loyal fan base in the NF freaking L. Just how much do you know about your New York Jets? So if you are ready, let's play Jets trivia. All right, let's get right into this. All right, so this week, guys, by the way, you know the rules, 5 minutes. I'm going to put 5 minutes on my clock. And then, get some pressure on the quarterback. You know it, Harlan. Hey, guys, definitely appreciate you guys hanging out. Yeah, be sure to give that thumbs up, leave a comment, leave a question. Yeah, just if you have any thoughts, anything going on, let's talk. All good. So I'll put 5 minutes on the clock this week. It will be a Jets-Dolphins related question. It gets harder to come up with division opponent trivia questions. It's a little bit easier than doing like a Rams question when I could do a new one every 4 years, pretty much, All right, so we're going to let's add that slide to the screen. Throw your answers down there in the chat, and I will let you know if it's a correct answer or if it's an incorrect answer. Tonight's question goes like this. What player played the most career games for the Jets who also at some point in his career played for Miami? So you think about the Jets who have played the most career games, spent a lot of years with the Jets. Well, which Jet played the most career games who also suited up at some time for the Miami Dolphins? So somebody like, not that he's the right answer, but a Dedrick Ward, he played for both teams. Wahoo McDaniel, he played for both teams. Those are just a couple of examples, but they are not correct answers. All right, so I'm only asking for one answer tonight. Think of somebody who played for the Jets for a long, long time, and at some point in his career, whether before or after, also suited up for Miami. Hank G goes with Ryan Fitzpatrick. No, Fitzy was here only 2 seasons. Yeah, Fitzy was not. Yeah, Fitzy only played like 30 games with the Jets. So, yeah, the guy I have in mind played a lot more than 30 games with the Jets. A whole lot more. David D goes with Dustin Keller. I don't think Dustin Keller ever played for anybody, but did he ever play for Miami? I can tell you it's not quite the correct answer, though. Can you believe, by the way, Dustin Keller is only 40 years old? Yeah, you know what? Yeah, he did play. So Keller was signed by Miami, but in a preseason game, he had a complete tear of his knee. So, yeah, in a preseason game against Houston, he tore 3 ligaments in his knee and he dislocated it. And that was the end of his career. So he was signed by Miami, but he never actually played a game with Miami. But even then, he played 72 career games with the Jets, which is still a very good number. But yeah, we can't quite count Dustin Keller. But yeah, good guess, David D. Good to see you. Good to see you over here. All right, see, we got a few extra people popping into the chat here. Guys, we're in the middle of trivia, and we got 3 minutes to go. What player played the most career games for the Jets who also played for Miami at some point? Dustin Keller was a good guess. He played 72 games with the Jets, but he didn't play a regular season game with the Dolphins. Harlan Abraham going old school. He goes straight to Randy Rasmussen, who played more games, 14 years with the Jets, I believe? Yeah, did Rasmussen play? Yeah, Rasmussen was a Jet and nothing else. So Rasmussen, he played a ton of games, but he never played for Miami as well. Yeah, played 207 total games as a Jet. That's pretty amazing. I will say this: the correct number of games was 101 games. So the guy who's the correct answer played 101 games as a Jet, and then found his way over to Miami. All right, less than 2 minutes, guys. Less than 2 minutes. All right. Not sure I'm going with this game just yet. Right now I have a feeling. My biggest concern about Jets Dolphins is, can the Jets defense keep up with the speed of Miami? I don't know if they can. I don't know. And I mean, if it's any encouragement, Miami has given up the most points per game of any team in the NFL, 32.3 points this year per game. They looked a little bit better against Buffalo, though. Can't deny that. So can the Jets exploit that secondary? We're going to find out. I mean, the Miami secondary, what is there? There's Minkah Fitzpatrick, and who else gets you excited? Ashton Davis. He's over there. Storm Duck. Okay, guys, about 45 seconds left. So if you have any other guesses, I will tell you this. He is a defensive player. So this guy played defense, played 101 games with the Jets, then went on to play for Miami for a short time. He was a Bill Parcells guy. How about that? Bill Parcells was a big fan of his. This is where I usually expect like a Mo or a Sharon McClain or somebody like that to pop in and get the answer. Yep, Miami has a lot of trouble stopping the run. Absolutely, allowing 145 rushing yards per game. Yeah, they have trouble stopping the run, no doubt. All right, time is up, guys. So I will say the third most is Chad Pennington with 69 games. 69 games as a Jet. Of course, went out of Miami. Second place with 78 games was a guy named Mike Hudock, who I didn't even know who he was. Modine goes with Jason Taylor. Well, Jason Taylor didn't play for the Jets all that long. So Jason Taylor, I'll give you the exact numbers here. Jason Taylor played 16 games with the Jets and 204 with Miami. So yes, his son is with us. Yes, I heard that. I did hear that. But this player that I'm gonna throw at you played 101 games as a New York Jet, defensive tackle from the University of Georgia, drafted late by Bill Parcells, and followed him when Bill went over to Miami. The correct answer is Jason Ferguson. That's right. JF played 101 games with the New York Jets. Then he went on to Miami and on to Dallas actually as well. Played for the Cowboys. Yeah, he played in total 101 games with the Jets, played 22 in Dallas, and he actually played 22 games over 2 years with Miami. So the correct answer, I hope I worded it clearly, is Jason Ferguson, one of the best maybe late round picks the Jets ever had. That guy washes cars now. Hey, say so to Lenny Dykstra. If it makes a good living, then hey, that's great. So, all right. Just before he said defense, I was thinking Chad Pennington. Yeah. Chad would have been a very good guess, but yeah, just missed a little bit too much time with the injuries. Huh? It's a shame. Just a damn shame. Yeah, so I'm going to get into the preview as I do more research. I want to dig into the Dolphins side of things. I want to find out what their folks are thinking to get a feel for this team, find out where they really are. And then I'll share that knowledge with all of you, my Jets brethren and sisterin. So be on the lookout for the 5 bold predictions video, which will also have the score prediction video, as well as my full game preview. That'll be coming up Friday and Saturday. David D., every time I would play Madden and I would run like the training camp drills and you get the points, you can assign them how you want, I'd immediately give like everything to Chad. Like all the power would go right to him. I like throw power up, get it just to make that arm as strong as it was before the rotator cuff got torn. I want to like Marshall University level Chad Pennington arm. That's what I was looking for. Sharon loves her some Fergie. All right, yeah. You know, hey, the best teams can hit on those picks every once in a while, and yeah, hitting on Jason Ferguson was definitely that. Bill had a lot of bad picks. Dorian Boose, anybody? Oof. But yeah, Jason Ferguson was an absolute home run in that draft class. It was back in '97, I think that pick happened. So, all right, guys. Well, I'll tell you what. It is time for me to get going. I've got a show to go to tonight. A little comedy show that starts in an hour, so I'm going to head over that way. But everybody, I want to thank you all very much for hanging out with me. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Be good to each other, and let's all collectively deal the best we can with the numbskulls who say ridiculous, outlandish stuff on social media. Let's all try to handle it as best we can. Kill them with kindness. All right. Be well, everybody. I'll see you all right back here with more content from you know where. The Wicker Chair. Have a good night, everybody.